Good morning. Good morning. My name is Joyce Higgins. I'm coming from the African American Resource Center in Booker in Rockford, Illinois, Chuck Jefferson Research Library. Today, October the 20th, 2021, we're in the process of interviewing as well as nominating our in-home researcher, Monier Keith Tolliver, for the Dan David Award. And we're excited about that today. And we want to hear from him because his words can explain his research, his work, and all of that, all of those particular things. Um, Initially, before we get started, I'll let Aki give a little bit background information about himself.
Thank you, Joyce. My name is Aki Tolliver, and I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my work and knowledge for this prestigious award. Um, I'm an independent researcher of history related to ancient philosophy of Egypt and Kush. I also dabbled in the history of the Americas. Been studying history ever since 1992, when I was a student at Tuskegee. And but what drawn me to the classical work is the philosophy of Egypt. I was really big in religion, and I wanted to find the origin of religion. I wanted to understand my ancestors. These are people who come before me and their philosophy on life and who they are. So it wasn't until I moved back to Atlanta in 2013 where I picked up wanting to go further in my research. So I read a book called Stolen Legacy, which talks about the the history of ancient Egypt and it being the origins of math, English, science, philosophy, and how through whitewashing of history that a lot of African Americans feel that that history has been kept out from their history. So that was an eye opener. So my book, which is called Greatest Story Ever Stolen, the name, the stolen part of that title is giving homage to stolen legacy. Um, so before so it was a couple of years of just reading the philosophy of ancient Egypt, and it wowed me, and I wanted to go further in my journey. And I've always been known as a great note taker, so I would collect all these notes in books as I did my research. And I met Joyce one summer at an ancestry meeting, and she heard my philosophy and asked me if I considered on sharing that knowledge to others. So we continued to stay in touch, and I thought about that, and I'd already collected all this information already. So I put that into a presentation and began sharing that at local libraries in Atlanta, Georgia. And I enjoyed it. And I did that for about, I'll say, a year and a half. And once that ended, I continued to build on those presentations. They were 4 hours long, and people would have intermissions during the presentations, and no one would leave, and people would stay. And I was just amazed that I would capture an audience for that long. And I would hate for that information to not be shared anymore once my presentations were done. So I took the slide presentations and really converted those into an actual book, adding more pictures, and now it has videos. And I've gotten great reviews um, from that. And I think what makes my book different from other books is it has a lot of visuals, very visual, and that's the fact that it's so visual. it has to be kept as an ebook because it's so big. Every page has pictures on it and also has videos in the book. And I'm trying to capture the reader and have them understand what I always wanted to know is why am I here and who I am. And I felt that our ancestors, these are people who come before us, already had these questions.
You know,
So,
and not to cause you to pause because you were on a roll and that was really, really good. I just want to make sure that I get something specific because you just made the light bulb go off in my head. You said something about your work and you said something about your ancestors and things of that nature. What is original about your contribution, this work, this body of work? Because, like you said, you've done a lot of great work. You've done a lot of great research, and you've put it together really, really nicely in many forms. And that's what's so striking about your work to me. But what do you consider as the best, or what makes your body of work or your study uh, of the past so different? What's original about your body of work compared to other scholarly works?
okay. So, some people may argue that the greatest book of all time is the most sold book of all time is the Holy Bible. So my book goes into the allegorical meaning of the Bible. It states in Galatians chapter 4:24 that the story of Abraham and what comes after is an allegory. And a lot of people miss that. So allegory doesn't mean something is untrue. It means that the Bible has a hidden meaning. So a lot of people may read the Bible multiple times and miss that verse and not see what the different stories in the Bible mean. So my book goes and shares the origin of the philosophy that the Bible mimics. A lot of the stories that you read are more ancient than when the Bible was created. And it was a book about oneself. The Bible has many stories that have hidden meanings that, through a roundabout way, is talking about oneself. And I want people to, by reading my book, they will have an understanding of that. But they don't have to read the Bible to understand that. I give many verses. I talk about the cosmos, which where these stories originate. So our ancestors, what I have not seen any other book talk about is how man, um, through language, created stories to share knowledge, to expand their view of themselves, and to communicate and to pass on that to future generations. And they wanted a book that was impenetrable and imperishable, that will always stay for humanity to understand. And that is written in the stars. So my book goes into spirituality, astronomy, astrology, and religion. And they're all tied together to help you understand oneself. And once you understand who you are, and where our ancestors saw everything was interconnected as atoms. And in science, that will be atom, which is the smallest part of a physical matter. And an atom is never created or destroyed. That means an atom has always existed and will always exist. And since you're made of atoms, such as everything else, everything existed. Is that things go from birth, life, death, and rebirth. So basically, that's the circle of life, and we just transform into something else. So hopefully, the reader has a sense of being and have no fear of death, that they're eternal, and that everything goes through that cycle. And hopefully, through our changing of one's mind, we will see the world differently, treat each other differently, treat ourselves differently, and we can have a better place for our future generations and
You
change
know,
the society we live in. Thank you.
I'm glad you, that's a good segue to asking the question. And I know you want to share some of your slides with us, and I think that's profound and wonderful that you do that today. But one of the questions that I need to pose to you today is your work. What is because you talked about what the impact is on our human lives, and I know that has been always been a question to people in the audience. What's so significant for of your information that you're sharing with us on the impact of our lives today compared to the past? But what is the significant impact on history itself, on the history of mankind, and a broader understanding of the past? What's significant about your work regarding history and the past?
Okay, so I mentioned my first major work, and that's my proudest work. And that's the one I share to others. And I have two minor works, but I also think are significant for this to be rewarded this reward. And that's um, the second piece of work is called African Americans or the Aboriginal Americans and Europeans. And I'm gonna talk about that. And then the third work is of the Aboriginal Europeans. And if one peruses through those works, they will understand that much of our history has been kept from the masses and on purpose to this day for various reasons. One could be racism, because the works, when one peruses through them, will understand that many of the kings and queens of Europe were of noble mobility. How a lot of the people who ruled Europe look like the Negroes here in America, um, and how the people from Africa moved to Europe, conquered parts of Europe, and brought science, technology, language, bathing, how to dress in different clothes, various astronomy to Europe, who were in the Dark Ages. And a lot of those Negroes in Europe were the first settlers here in America. And they met other Negroes who are already here, which are called the Aboriginal Americans. So it seems that the Negro, which I'm calling dark-skinned people who have been labeled that since the Bacon's Rebellion to split up the masses um, through government being involved, and how they have to have the blacks or the Negroes at the bottom in order to have another group who are called the whites to feel superior. So these other two bodies of work is to help one to understand that the so-called Negro have been on every continent, and they are the Aboriginal people of every continent. And just like in America, they're not the red Indian that we see in movies, but the actual African American were already here as the Aboriginal Indians.
So,
Uh,
Brother Aki, tell me this, and I'm going to paraphrase what I just heard you say. Are you saying that because history was held, your work dispelled history as it stands today, which in a sense enlighten us on the true history, which changes their perspective of how people view themselves? Uh, is that what I hear you saying?
yeah, so I want a better world for humanity. And to me, the truth, knowing the truth, if it benefits you or not benefits you, the truth to me is the best way to move forward. And as people gain knowledge of the past, they have to share what they understand is the truth. I have many primary sources to back up what I have provided in my work. So again, I have three works, one being that we are, now say the term God, you're eternal being. That's the most important. Before any label was placed on you, you already existed before you even were called your name or considered a white person or black or Indian or human. You existed in some other form as existence itself. And that's the most important. So the other two works are there for understanding the past. And to me, understanding the past is how to move forward in the future. We celebrate holidays. We celebrate um, things that not who we truly are. And that's fine to live this life and exist thinking that you are African American, which no one came from Africa based off my research. But, and you can die being fine as that, and I'm okay with that. But to be a seeker of truth and knowledge, I have to share what I found, that no one came from Africa, that you were already here, your people were here, they were conquered, and then the conquerors, through various methods, have had the future generation understand a past that didn't occur. And so for a person to walk right, to talk correctly, understand their prestigious past, helps them understand why they should walk right and talk correctly and move in a different way, because they have so much behind them that they've done before, but most people don't realize
What
it.
do
If
you
people,
think? What
go ahead.
I'm sorry, and I keep cutting you off, but I just want to make sure that this information is flowing because when I hear certain key pieces, I question it. And so, what just came to mind was, what would you say as an individual when other scholarly researchers dispel your ideology that we didn't come from Africa? Or the majority of us did not travel across the sea to come to America. Uh, what would you say to those particular scholars? And I know this is kind of adding to the interview, but there's going to be a lot of researchers that say they disagree with what you're stating. How would you respond to their disagreement on your research?
Okay, so how would one know the truth if you have two scholars both presenting bodies of work as primary sources? How would a third party understand, okay, these are both scholars, both providing bodies of work, primary sources? Did we come from Africa, or were these people already in America? So coming from the what they call the conscious community, a lot of African Americans believe that we came on slave ships. There are already many books proving this, and they can provide many primary sources. I also can do this with what I found. So one, as a third party, trying to find out what's the truth, I'm providing another direction, another path, so one can easily understand what's the truth or not. So only the third party person determines what is the truth. So what my body of work provides are videos, pictures, literary works from primary sources. And it's done in a slide presentation, which I will show you on my website. and it's easily to follow. And hopefully, by looking through the work, you will come to your own conclusion. So I cannot, when a scholar says that's untrue, I'm not going to debate them. I'm just going to point them to my work, and they have a choice to come to that realization or not. So I don't try to through my main body of work, which is Greatest Story Ever Stolen, which proves that the characters and the stories in the Bible are allegorical, hidden meaning stories. They're not to be taken literally. I'm not using the book to convert Christians to non-believers, or people have their choice. I'm just showing what I understand as the origin of religion, what existed before religion, and people can make a choice on how to move forward from there.
Can you share some of your work right now? You said you were going to share your web. It'd be
Okay.
interesting to see.
Okay, so first I'm going to share my book. So this is my proudest piece of work. And what you see here is my book library found in the Kindle app. My book is only sold on Amazon Kindle, and it's the first book shown here. If you decide to purchase it, you'll see it as such amongst your other books, and you can double click it and it opens up. So as you see here, it's in a different format than a regular book. Very colorful, many pictures, and you just click through the pages of the book, and this can be read on any digital device that has for Kindle app. So you can read it on Fire, Amazon Fire tablet. You can also read it on your iPad, PC, or phone. And I made it where the lettering is bigger. If you choose to read it on your phone, you won't have a problem reading it. So you see it's very visual. I'm stepping through the pages now, and I'm hoping to grasp the reader so they have an understanding by the time when they finish this book, understand who they are and what their main purpose of life according to our ancestors. So that's what I have here. I give words of wisdom because one success back in ancient times wasn't tied to money or how big your house was or how much schooling you did, but it was how you improved one's character, how you improved yourself, how you gained wisdom throughout life. You came here as a human to expand your personality and becoming a better person. So I give words of wisdom, then I go into spirituality. And spirit is one half of what the circle of life is about. So the circle of life deals with the physical world and what happens after something exists in the physical world, what they call the spirit world. So there was an equal amount of time spent in both. And so the book talks about both, what spirit is, and that you are spirit. Another term for spirit is God or goddess, meaning that you are the supreme, eternal being of the universe. Okay? You always existed, and the universe is oneself, and you create the universe because you are the creator. You're a creator, here to create, hopefully, good things to pass on to yourself, because everything is oneself. I know it sounds weird to some people, but the book's purpose is to help one understand that. Okay, so this is my main body of work. I'm still perusing through it. When you use the Kindle app, you can use the table of contents here to jump around in the book, and that is it. As you see, it's very visual. Again, the four major topics, as I show here in the table of contents, is spirituality, astronomy, astrology, and religion. And religion is one half of the book, and the book is over 1,000 pages.
Now you've been on YouTube as well, correct?
Yes, before I created the book, I did many classes or workshops in libraries, and some of those videos that I created a video on YouTube, which you will look up my book name or my name, you will find me. And let me go to my YouTube channel. Okay. And hold on a second. We'll have to do this again. My mom's calling me.
So did you pause it?
Give me a second.
You pause record? Okay.